operations and marketing.
Life and the minds.
Now
I'm good. It's been 2 years already. In March, I have finished.
Many people has mixed up.
Jobs are being added or not.
It's like basically starting fresh over again.
Teaching me how to set goals.
Yes, long life and abundance, brothers and sisters. We here and we back, you know. It's been a minute, but I have some gems and I have a special guest here with you guys. I have Var Richardson. It's a pleasure to have him here with me because he is somebody that helped me to reach the next level when it comes to investing and also trading. So it's such a pleasure to have him here because I really asked him, you know, can he do this video with me so we could share the people like what we doing, because I don't want to leave everybody behind. We gotta save a few people. So at least the people that tune in to us and watch me, we're gonna be doing bigger things, so just stay tuned. So to get right to it, we're gonna be talking about high yield savings account. We're gonna be talking about ETFs. We're gonna talk about dividend and growth stocks in this video. Also, we're going to be talking a little bit about the numbers because I remember the last video I talked about a few things, but I ain't spoke about the numbers, and there's where we got Levar here today. So to get right to it, I want to talk about the high yield savings account. So for us to just get to it, the high yield savings account that I just use is basically National Nederlanden. And basically, is where I just stored my money for a small yield every year. So like I mentioned in my past videos, usually we would just take our money and put it on our savings account that's on our regular bank account. And one thing about a high yield savings account that you receive a yield on the money, and that's what Levar going to break down later with numbers. So like we mentioned that on a regular bank, you get less than 1% on your money on your regular savings account. And then on a high yield savings account, you could receive 2% on your money every year. But that is not, for me, the amazing thing. I believe the amazing thing is that when you take out your money from your high yield savings account, it's not taxed. And that's the real beautiful thing to me about a high yield savings account, because I love to invest my money. And sometimes I forget about the stuff I gotta pay. And then I'm like, oh snap, I can't take out my money out my dividends, so I can't take out my money out my ETFs. But where can I take my money out? And my high yield savings account is the money where I take out money to use. But like I mentioned, guys, you don't want to take your money out your high yield savings account, because that's the money that you're going to get a return on. So it's not for you to go and take out your money. But what I'm saying is, if something happened, like you miscalculate something or something come up, you can always go back to your high yield savings account and take money out there, because it would not be taxed. If you take money out your crypto, your dividends, and so on, the money will be taxed. So that is why we talking about a high yield savings account. So as you guys can see, this is the high yield savings account I just use in the Netherlands. To be a little bit more specific, I use the internet. Let me pull it up. So the internet spaarrekening, that is a specific one that I just personally use. So, you know, just in case if people want to look into this high yield savings account bank or website, this is the specific one you guys could look into, and just check it out. The next thing I want to talk about is Coca-Cola. I'm not talking about Coca-Cola for you to go and invest in Coca-Cola. I want to talk about Coca-Cola because Coca-Cola was basically the first stock that paid me a dividend. And one thing I always learn and I read up about Coca-Cola, that Coca-Cola over the 100 years is one of the most reliable dividend paying stocks. And I can't lie, I could finally say it's true because it paid me. So I only like to talk from my experience, and from my experience, it is still today a reliable payout stock. Do I believe is the best stock to invest? No, I don't believe that. But like I mentioned, I do believe a lot in how reliable Coca-Cola is. Me personally, with all the internet coming out, I could see that soda in itself, people going probably drink less soda over the years because of all the internet, and you could see what soda does do to you. So in that case, probably emotionally, like Mobile I would say, I probably would feel like it would not be probably the ideal best investment. Because of my personal reason like that. But in the end of the day, when it go back to numbers, from the last 100 years, it is a reliable. And hopefully the management team, whoever who running Coca-Cola, they could do some adjustments in the future that will help us as the dividend shareholders, the shareholders to benefit off of a company like Coca-Cola still in the future. And the last one that I would share with you guys is an ETF, which is the Extractors MSCI World Energy. So this is another ETF. So this is not a stock, but an ETF. And now an ETF now is a big company that invests in other stocks. And if you don't want to invest in that individual stock, you could find an ETF, which is a business that already invests in these businesses, these stocks. And now it's the same thing. You could get the performance. You can get the performance of these stocks just by investing in this ETF. So this is one of the ETFs that I also invest in, which has to do with world energy. It has to do with oil, gas, refinery, all around the world, in the US, in Europe, and probably I could pull up, let me see what else, Europe. Yeah, and they say here, and developed countries. So to me, when I look at energy, energy would stay here for a very long time. Not just the oil in itself, but energy. When you look, everything has to do with energy. If it's the lights and so on. So that is also an ETF that I will be investing in for the long run. With the numbers, like I said again, I can leave Lavago into that, but I assume with the numbers, probably the World Energy ETF has a lot more, how can I say that, reliable numbers to depend on for the future. But in the end of the day, this is also another stock that, I mean, another ETF, but one of the ETFs that I invest in that I believe you guys should also know about, and where I believe that is something that we should know about. Not that we should invest in, but we should at least know about. So here's where I get close up with the stuff of Coca-Cola, the high yield savings account, and this one ETF. So where I can want my boy to come in now, I would want him to break down a little bit with the high yield savings account, if you want to go into the stocks, whichever one he want to go into first. But like I say, I would like him to now break down some numbers with us. If you have to go and invest money in these couple of things that, if it's I mentioned or even Lava mentioned, that this is more or less of how you calculate and you can see more or less a return in the future.
Var Richardson. I'm together along in a group with Jeremy and a few others. We have a private group where we talk about, yeah, just basically financial opportunities, ways to increase your wealth, the knowledge that comes with it, financial literacy. Also, we dive into investing, trading, yeah, saving in the most optimal way, and overall about growth in terms of the businesses we had already, and the things that we're looking forward to in the future, and just
So
spreading knowledge. So, like Jeremy was mentioning, basically, the reason why we opt to invest in a high yield savings account is that the fact that when you invest in a regular savings account, you're not maximizing the interest rate that you can get. And when it comes to investing, trading, or anything in business terms, the most important thing is the numbers and the percentage you're able to gain on on what you invest. So let's say a way how we calculate this is basically via a compound calculator. I would take like a simple percentage and compare it to what a bank traditionally gives us
Yeah.
versus what a high yield savings account would give us now. And how I would like to do that, first I'll take a compound calculator. And what I have here, I already have some things inputted, and we can play around with the figures and then see what goes on. But usually a bank doesn't really give you much interest rate. Let's just call it what it is now. You would get,
Yeah.
like, currently right now it's roughly around 1.5, and it was even 2%, but that's not the norm. The only reason these interest rates were up because of
Interest rate.
yeah, yeah, because interest rates,
And what?
global interest rates increased
No,
due to the US being the reserve currency, and they increased their interest rate, their global interest rates, because of inflation, to battle inflation. So, but as a result of that, basically you have all these other banks worldwide
mm,
increasing their interest rates because the US is the reserve currency. So now that's why
mm,
we currently have higher saving rates. And if you will
oh,
look at it also, you have higher mortgage rates.
that's true.
That's just basically the result of it now.
Yep.
But business as usual, your savings accounts from your banks are not that much of a high rate. So
Mm,
when last I checked, before the increase of inflation, they were roughly around 0.1 or 0.2%. And now let's take an example, right? So for instance, if you were to start saving 1,000, you start with 1,000, and every month you would put aside $100, 100 euros, with whichever currency it is, and you save this for 10 years, based on that rate that the banks gave you, roughly around 0.1%, the calculated interest you would get over the 10 years is basically $6.95,
hmm,
which is nothing, because your additional deposits would be 12,000. But now, let's say if we were to take that and compare it to maybe the same company, Nationale Nederlander, where you can see here it's 2% over 10 years. We can put this calculation in. The initial investment is 1,000. The interest rate is 2% per year. You put it for 10 years, 100 each month. If you calculate, you'll see that your additional deposit remains the same at 12,000. Your future investment is valued at $14,493. So what you earned is 1,493
hmm.
versus $6.95.
Yeah, but a
So
big difference.
it's a very big difference, and that's basically it now. Because if at the core of it, banks utilize our money. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is just a general consensus. Banks take our money, they loan them out, they charge interest on it, and they get the difference. So they are taking our money to invest,
Hmm.
while we are just giving our money to them, and we're not capitalizing on the money, because it's a numbers game. It all boils down to percentages, huh?
So,
No, that's why we also talk about investing in stocks, ETFs, dividend stocks, and what Jeremy mentioned. I would like to start to begin with ETFs, basically ETFs. So basically, a ETF is a form of let's say dummy proof investing,
hmm.
because and majority of wealthy people do it now. It's
Yep.
majority of wealthy people, mutual funds, pension funds. It's just a form to invest in a sense which is more safer, and also gives you exposure to the top traded stocks.
Yeah,
and
that was well
and
said.
yeah, and that's basically it about it now. The reason why I like this company is because it's from one of the top two hedge funds and asset management companies in Vanguard and BlackRock. And also, this particular ETF mimics the S&P 500.
Hmm.
And like I said, as I said before, any company that is not performing well, they basically reduce the amount of allocation towards that company, and
So,
also add different stocks in. So if we take a look, the company, the ETF is currently trading at around 536. Okay, as I mentioned before, this is expensive in terms of purchasing it individually. However, you can also buy stocks. You can also buy ETFs based on fractional basis now. That means that you can own a part of it. What is important is the amount that it increases per year.
hmm.
ETFs usually, ones that mimic the S&P 500, usually increase roughly around 8 to 12, and as much as 20% a year,
Hmm.
which is way better than what you get from a bank, and which is way better than what you get from a
How you
high yield
saving?
savings, yeah, high yield savings account. So Now, if we take a look, we can take a look at which companies are in this ETF. Looking at the holdings, you can see the top 10 companies are Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, which is Facebook, Alphabet, which is Google, Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, Alphabet C, that's a different form of Google,
Mm-hmm.
Eli Lilly, one of the top pharmaceutical companies, Broadcom, chip makers, and JP Morgan Classic, which is a
Mm.
bank, finances. So now, which company I would like to take? Let's first take a look at how Vol performs in terms of the last 5 years. The reason why I use 5 years because it gives a good gauge of how the ETF has been performing and what's the trajectory of it. So what I like to do, I like to take the average of let's say the last 5 years and basically use that as a reference to calculate how much you can have in terms of compound interest. It's not going to be the most accurate way, but it still gives you an illustration of what's going to happen. If I take a look at this Vanguard ETF, like based on the maximum, you can see that this ETF has been on a continuous rise
Hmm.
from since inception because it mimics the S&P 500, and like I said, it's dummy proof. So any company that is not performing well will be taken out. So that's why you're going to always see that this ETF or any ETF that mimics the S&P 500 will always be rising, bearing the fact that there's no black swan events or the market is not completely crashing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now, like I said, let's take 5 years
Mm.
for reference. So we can do 96 divided by 5. So in the last 5 years, on average, the ETF has been growing 19% a year. So
Yeah.
if we were if we are to come and take this and put this into the compound interest calculator, instead of 2%, we can do let's be a little bit more conservative and let's do
13? Oh, 50.
15%. 15%, yeah, not 15%. I feel is a decent rate.
So,
So first, no. Let's look and let's start to compare. So I'll keep all the comparisons. So with a bank, we can see our initial deposit turns out to 12,000. What we gain on interest is $6.95. Okay, let's take it up a step. When we use the high yield savings account, we see that over the 10 years we gain 1,493 and our future investment is valued at 14,493. Okay, we kick it up a step. Now, let's say we invested this into an ETF now that's mimicking the S&P 500. Now we see that over the next 10 years, instead of 1,400, we are roughly at 18K,
hmm.
18,961. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, but huge difference.
It's a huge difference. And now let's take it another step. Let's say, for instance, if you had this information from since, let's say, if your family had this information from since you were a child, give and take, let's say now 20 years, 25 years, yeah, okay, because we're growing right now, 25 years of investing. It's valued just
Bumbo
imagine that.
clock.
Just imagine that now. Just imagine that.
But that what I
From
hear
time
saying about that 20-year thing, but that 20-year crazy, brother.
exactly. Exactly. And then it's not as if we're investing anything to break the bank now. Just $100 per month. Maybe not everyone can, maybe not everyone can afford it and thing now. But
Yeah.
we are doing things to get to that point where we shouldn't even feel this amount.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think
And
the most beautiful thing about this whole thing is that you making 334,000 by just putting in money. You
yeah,
know, you ain't working for it, you ain't studying, you just putting money in. I mean, yeah, you did your study in the beginning or you're doing little checks, but that's more or less what the ETF are. You know, that's what those people are doing. That's what they
that,
gotta do. You know,
that's
you just
exactly
gotta
and
keep putting your money in. And like I said, this ain't financial advice. We just sharing stuff that we doing because like you
mhm,
could see with the numbers. He put in 10 years, 20 years. Bro, if I add 20 years to my life, I can be already 50. So it's
mhm,
like if you watching this video and you already in your 20s or you in your 30s, like there's no time to wait. You know, I mean, you got kids. and this is how you could, start thinking about them
Yeah,
and
and
think
that's
about
the
even passing down thing. Because if I ask you who family or who mother and father had like 10K for them or 15K for them when they had done school. So it's like these is little ways how you could make a difference for your kids. That when your kids reach 18, because some of you kids, them young, just born, you add the years to it. When they 18, that they come over around, that's the same, probably 20 years, not 20 years, but the 10 years, probably your kid now gonna be 18. And now you could see with certain calculations, now you could give them a little return. You could be like, okay, cool, I've been doing this for you. Look this, go and start, if it's you pay for the school, start a little business. But I think that is the beautiful thing about this compounding and just reinvesting the money back into those same investments. But yeah, I just wanted to touch that up there, bro.
yeah, no. I'm glad that you explained that, you voice that part now, because if we have access to this information, there's so much we can do at an early stage.
Yep,
The trick
yep.
to investing in these assets is basically longevity. You
Hmm.
have to start as early as possible, and you have to wait. It's the long game. It's not a get rich quick
Yep.
scheme, if I may say. It's not a get rich quick scheme,
Hmm.
because you can see we're only putting in numbers of like 10 years, 25 years, 50 years. Like, the further, the more you invest, the longer you invest, is the more you're going to get on your return.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. And imagine that. So if I say the more you invest, no, imagine if you're able to invest instead of 100, you can invest 200, or you can invest 300, or you can invest 400. Let's take 400 for example.
Yeah,
Phew,
yeah, but
a total difference.
yeah.
No, no, let's go back and let's take a look at a traditional bank.
But that's $1 million in earn that what you earn, that ain't what you put in,
Interest
earn.
earned, interest earned. Let's take a look at a traditional banking just to show you that. Okay, not the banking system is not flawed because it's there to protect you. It's there to leverage to get loans, mortgages. It's there to do its job now. But in terms of gaining wealth and actually gaining let's say generational wealth that you can pass on, and the right method of financial literacy, no, it's not. It's
Hmm.
not the way.
No, it's not, bro. It's not, bro. You
It's not
can't
the
get
way.
nowhere doing that shit, saving money in your bank.
Exactly. So now let's take a look at it. 25 years, we still using $100. You
Damn.
telling me after 25 years, the most I'll get is $39, bro? If you put that in a high yield savings account,
Yeah, I think you have to put it back by 400.
no, I'm taking 100 as an
Oh yeah,
example.
it's the year. You
Yeah,
change the year.
yeah.
Yeah, 25.
So you would get 9,000 versus $39. These two cannot be compared, no. And now let me say, high yield savings account, most of them are banks, and some of them are financial institutions. So they do have their limitations. They do have amounts that they would stop paying you. Um, they would stop, allowing you to have this high yield interest, the 2% or whatever it is, because they also are in the terms of making money via finances, via the money that's coming in. So
Hmm.
then I would like to say there's also a limit. You should maximize how much you can for your high yield savings account, and then yeah, you focus on your investment accounts.
Hmm.
So back to the investment accounts. So basically, now what I just showed is that if if we invest in a regular ETF that grows on a nice conservative rate, 15 to 18 to 8% in a year, you'll see that you'll gain a lot of wealth over the time, over the long run. Now, what I would like to add is that how can we take this a step further? The ETFs are the safest route. However, the ETFs are a basket of individual stocks.
Mm.
You get that?
Yeah.
So if I'm telling you the ETFs are a basket of the individual stocks, that means these stocks are also increasing on an annual basis in a similar sense or probably more.
Hmm.
However, it's risky. It's risky. I would say that because, and I'm not saying it's risky like the stock is going to drop or it's going to crash. I mean, it's riskier because it's going to have way more volatility than ETF would have because it's spread apart with so many different companies.
So,
Yeah, so that's one thing. However, the risk to reward is way greater than what you would get from an ETF. And
mm,
and just remember, these hedge funds, these asset management companies do not invest in just any regular company.
yeah.
They
So,
invest in the best of the best companies. And perhaps maybe later on a different Zoom, we can break down some of these companies based on their
yeah.
financial performance, their management team, also how many companies they own, and also like the products and services. But I'll just say let's do it on a simple basis. Let's take one of these companies that's within the ETF that I mentioned, and let's take a look at it.
Hmm.
I would say let's take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft is a company that you can find in each one of these ETFs, whether it's one that's tracking the S&P 500 or it's a technology ETF. It's just basically yeah, it's one of the creme de la cremes. And
Hmm.
if you look at it just from a loose basis, you'll find the technology all over in the corporate world, our computers,
Hmm.
um,
But,
software. They own multiple companies over the hundreds, and it's just a thing, a monumental company, I would say. Now, if I take a look, like how I did with Vanguard S&P 500 full,
yeah.
let me take a look at Microsoft now. MSFT, Microsoft. If I look at Microsoft
Whew.
since inception, Microsoft has been up 418,000%. Crazy,
Yeah, but crazy.
crazy. But let's let's take it on a notch and let's look at the last 5 years. Within the last 5 years, Microsoft has been up 204%.
Hmm.
Okay, so now if I have to take this and do the average, and like I would like to repeat, the average is just meant to have a loose form of a calculation and idea of how much this stock, you can say, probably grows within a year
Yeah.
or over a year. So it's not the most accurate form to calculate it, but it's one of the only ways that you can see it and get a grasp and idea and see that, okay, this is the power of investing. So I would like to do 204% divided by 5, that's 40. And now for me to take another conservative point, I would like to do, instead of 40%, let's do 35%. 35%. So we're going to invest $100 and yeah, we're going to calculate it for the same 25 years. Now let's start with 10 years just to see the difference of when you were comparing it to the bank and also the high yield savings account. Okay, so within 10 years of investing just $100, starting with $1,000
Yes.
in
Yeah.
initial investment, you can see that your initial deposit is $12,000, but what you earn in terms of interest is $123,000
In just 10 years.
in just 10 years.
That crazy, boy.
Before you blink, 10 years will come.
Yep. 10 years gonna go not
God's will.
long.
Yeah, God's will. Before you blink. So then you have to start to question yourself now. Are you going to still continue to put it? Are you still going to continue to not invest? I'm not
You're
going
gonna
to say
still
where
put
you
your
put your
money on
money.
vacations.
Yeah. So now let's take a look at, okay, if let's say if your parents or whoever been investing into a company such as Microsoft for the last 25 years. Now we take a look and just 100. Whoa.
Bombo clot. But the calculator mash up.
It's just a lot of money. It's just a lot of money now. But yeah, let's not get
Tell you, the
too
people in there
crazy into
doing no
the
factor
numbers and
there.
the
So like,
figures
what
now.
kind of numbers are you put up here today? So just
Exactly.
imagine you invest only 1,000 first, and after you invest that 1,000, you just put in $100 every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah. And and then this is just a way that can debunk the myth that investing in long-term stocks can't get you to a wealthy partner. No, it's not true.
what I see in
Majority
12 million,
24.
24 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to see. I think I want to see 24,000, but
you
24
you probably
million, 20,
yeah
25 years bar. But like I said, I mean, like I said, these are things that, we chop down and break down. But like I say, just to see these things again, it really remarkable to just know that people ain't really stopping to figure out what it is that could help us or you as an individual get out the situation that you're in. That's why, I'm probably looking at the number. But like I say, when you're doing it, it's a whole different ball game. But at the same time, this is why I personally talk about it most of the time. Or this is why I just speak to my people that I truly care about, like, yo, tap in. And when I say tap in, I say again, I ain't saying for you to invest. I'm saying for you to start understanding. Because the quicker you start to understand, the quicker you realize you're sleeping. And yeah, I hope you guys learned something in this video, and if you guys enjoy it, share it because we know you're gonna like it, and then we would probably do more videos like this. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys watch to the end, long life and abundance like always, and we out. See you guys on the next video.
I would like to thank everyone who tunes in and actually receive the information and the topics we talk, because we're quite passionate about these things and in terms of helping our people too as well now.
So
So hopefully, if enough people tap in, maybe we can do a live or something where we talk about these things, we break them down, we look at
yeah,
some charts, some finances, the companies, like overall just give them enough game for them to
yeah,
like that can start their journey too as well.
yeah. Appreciate that, bro. We're gonna do more of that for sure.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for
We
having me.
we're gonna do more of that. So guys, stay tuned, stay locked in. Stop stop spending money and start investing. You know what I mean? This is your boy Jeremy. That your boy Lavar. And we out.
All right,
Easy.
peace.
One.